The Eve of the Hallow, a short story by Paul McCann. Back in a place where crows picked maize from the fields and crops grew among the black stones, there, surrounded on the battlefield of Dramby, were bones of slain warriors. The crops had returned to the fields, but only after the blood had been shed by many, and the blood had dried on the stones of the battlefield, and stories were told of the old wars, and the hills themselves whispered the secrets about the days of the crows, when they picked over the corpses that lie lifeless and still on the black stones on the battlefields of Dramby. Some speak of the spirit woman who transformed herself into a crow, and she led an army to pick off the bones of all the slain who had fallen asleep in battle. And in the centre of the field there stood what was left of the once castle renowned for housing the bravest warriors in the land, the Castle of Dramby. Now, there's no one to know what happened. Long ago since those found no mercy and were not spared, but beneath the breath of the night, the wind still whispers of their plight on a dark and rainy night when the rider approached from the west. And his memory would tell the story of the horseman of the Castle Dramby. On that dark and rainy night, the horseman rode with a hunger in his belly that rumbled and tumbled. And he stopped for a bite and a rest, if you like, in the castle with a laughter filled the halls. The wall torches were extinguished and the shadows were relinquished to leave the marble halls for a day and a half. But that very night the king was vanquished by a cold, cruel deed that saw him bleed at the top of the stairs. They blamed the stranger on the horse, and they brought him to a place where he lost his head. But the fact of the matter was, someone else had slaughtered the king at the top of the stairs. It wasn't long after when it turned to a slaughter, and the horseman himself returned. With his head in his hands and a long list of names, he remembered not one of their names. He chose not to forget them. And on the eve of the Hallow, in the ruins of the castle, food was laid on the tables, and in jugs red wine was filled to the brim. And those that were left to mourn were a small number, giving offering to those who had gone. It was on the eve of the Hallow, they said, that the spirits loved to return for a feast, for a while, and to bring back a smile to the faces of those that they loved. It was also said that those souls of the dead could not rest until justice was done. And now, around the walls of Dramby Castle, there were echoes of those who had been wronged and those who had found justice by the horseman from Dramby. He came to deliver wrath on the night when fear took flight and took all life in the Castle Dramby. The end.